Ohio State has produced tons of star quarterbacks over the last few years, with guys such as Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, and now CJ Stroud, all likely becoming first-round picks. The Buckeyes have always been able to recruit well at the quarterback spot, but now they are taking it to a whole nother level. They already have 2 5-stars on the roster in Devin Brown and Kyle McCord, and they did have 2024 5-star Dylan Raiola committed, but he recently decommitted. The other guy they are now going to bring in next year is one of the fastest rising quarterback prospects in the class of 2023. After Brock Glenn flipped to Florida State, Ohio State went and flipped a guy from Washington. His name was Lincoln Kienholz. As I said, he is one of the fastest rising quarterbacks in the class of 2023, has legit NFL potential down the road, was a superstar in the state of South Dakota, and could be the next great Buckeye quarterback. In today's video, I want to talk about this guy's story, who he is, how Ohio State got him, and what this means for the future of the roster. But before we get started, we are so close to 100K, so be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you want to support today's video, turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could cover next. Now, let's get started and meet Lincoln Kienholz. Growing up, Lincoln always loved the quarterback spot, and those intangibles would translate to other sports as well. He played point guard in basketball and shortstop in baseball, and his head coach knew all along that he was going to be big time. His head coach always saw him as a guy who could play D1 baseball, D1 basketball, or even run D1 track if he really wanted to. He grew up in Pierre, South Dakota, not a place known for big-time quarterback recruits, but he did have a tremendous player to learn under. As a freshman at Riggs High School, Kienholz was behind Garrett Stout, who won the 2019 Gatorade Player of the Year award. The guy averaged over 330 yards per game and had 61 touchdowns in 12 games as a senior. Stout would sort of take Lincoln under his wing, and this would help him tremendously. I don't think Stout ultimately went on to play college football, but Lincoln was the next man up. After watching Kienholz learn to love the scheme and strategy of the offense, Coach Steele gave him the job as a sophomore. According to the coach, a lot of Power 5 scouts do come out to Pierre, South Dakota, but it's usually to look at linemen and not quarterbacks. Lincoln changed that though. He threw for 20 touchdowns as a sophomore, but there was a problem. He also threw 16 interceptions. His decision-making was not quite there, and he had not yet put it all together. As a junior, though, he would blow up and fix all its issues, attracting big-time programs. Washington was the first Power 5 school to target him, and then Wisconsin, Illinois, and Minnesota joined. He grew close to the Washington staff and bought into what Coach DeBoer could offer him. In June, Lincoln figured out where he was going to go to school, and he chose the Huskies even when Notre Dame was beginning to recruit him. What helped was that DeBoer was also from the state of South Dakota, and Lincoln chose Washington over North Dakota State, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. That's a very interesting group of schools, as he could have probably been a star at North Dakota State, could have won a lot of games at Wisconsin, and could have followed in the footsteps of Josh Allen at Wyoming. Ultimately, though, he wanted to go to Washington. At the time, he was a 3-star recruit and had this to say, quote, "My main 2 coaches are from South Dakota, so we definitely have that in common, and they can relate to me. I also just like their system and how they coach. I think they do a good job with their quarterbacks, and it's a quarterback-friendly system, and that's very appealing to me." He was your above-average 3-star quarterback, and many believe this was a gem for Coach DeBoer, but his senior year would change everything, which was better for Lincoln and bad for Washington. Kienholz went insane over his last few months as he led his team to a state championship, completed 67% of his passes, and threw for 3,422 yards with 46 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. To make things better, he also ran for 1,436 yards and 24 scores. After this, many scouts from across the country took notice, including Ohio State's quarterback coach Corey Dennis. He would reach out to Lincoln, and Lincoln knew this was a whole new level of recruiting, and he would have to take this one seriously. As I said, in the past, Notre Dame started to recruit him while he was committed to Washington, but he told them to back off and that he was not going to be flipping. Ohio State, though, started a whole new conversation. Over this past Thanksgiving, he went to Columbus, Ohio to check out the Buckeyes, and he had this to say, quote, "I liked everything about it. Facilities, coaches, recruits, players, campus, it was all really nice. I bet the one thing he didn't like, though, was how Ohio State played in the second half against Michigan, but I guess most recruits typically aren't looking at the outcomes of games to determine where they're going to go to school, and I guess if you win a game like that, it only helps, but it doesn't really hurt you that much." This led many scouts and experts to believe he was going to become a Buckeye, and with Brock Glenn eventually flipping to Florida State, it was pretty much a done deal behind the scenes, and everyone knew he was going to leave Washington for Ohio State. So why did he flip from Washington State, though? He said, quote, "I just think their past culture and tradition with their quarterbacks is huge. Also, all the success they've had as a football team helped as well. What made things even better is the high school scheme he ran back in South Dakota was also very similar to what Ryan Day has at Ohio State. In 3 seasons as the Governor's starting quarterback, Kienholz threw for 7,654 yards, 87 touchdowns, and 26 picks, while adding over 2,600 yards and 22 touchdowns on the ground. The guy was insane, is going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks in South Dakota history, and help put Pierre on the map when it comes to quarterback recruiting. This would also end up leading to Ohio State grabbing him, and because of that, his ranking blew up as well. At the time of his commitment to Washington, he was only a 3-star player, but now in the latest rankings, 24/7 Sports is super high on him. According to them, he's a 4-star quarterback, the number 13 quarterback, and the 172nd best player in the class of 2023. So, what do scouts believe the future looks like for Lincoln? Well, one said this, quote, "Lincoln is an athletic prospect who plays with his feet. He uses that athleticism to navigate the pocket and elude the rush. He can run, but will look to throw when he breaks contain. He throws with excellent touch, drops passes into a bucket, gives his receivers opportunity to make big plays on the ball, and leads them away from coverage on vertical or corner routes. He's productive in high school and saw some good programs, but did not face many teams with D1 prospects in the secondary. He will have to adjust to the speed and the windows shrinking quicker in college, but he's still going to have to improve his arm strength and velocity if he wants to make a difference. He's going to fill in more in college, and add to that though, and overall, he's far from a finished product, but has a lot of good developmental tools, is a gamer, has great mobility, and should develop into a Power 5 starter and possibly a pro." I thought that was a good quick summary of his game, and I think that's the kind of player Ohio State is currently looking for. With the decommitment of Dylan Raiola, it does make things extremely interesting though, but with McCord and Brown both being looked at as future stars, and with Dylan supposed to come in 2024, it looked like they were going to take more of a project player in the 2023 class, and whether it was going to be Brock Glenn, Austin Novosad, they were all pretty similar. I do think that Lincoln has an extremely high ceiling though, and will actually have an opportunity to play. I think Kyle McCord will be the starting quarterback next year, but then in 2024 or 2025, we're to see a Lincoln versus Devin Brown battle. Either way, Lincoln can always enter the portal and go back to a school such as Washington, but for now, I think he does have a bright future at Ohio State. It will definitely be an uphill battle for him there, but it seems like the guy is a hard worker, has unlimited potential, and is up for the challenge. But what do you guys think? If you're an Ohio State fan, what do you think of Lincoln Kienholz? What is your take on the quarterback position? Why do you think Dylan Raiola decommitted? And what do you think Ohio State does for the 2024 quarterback? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video. Let me know what high school player or recruit I can take a look at next. Subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.